Dozens of detained immigrant families raised their voices in protest yesterday behind the walls of a detention facility in Texas. It's the same facility where 5-year-old Liam Ramos and his father were sent after they were taken from Minnesota last week. One protester told the Associated Press in a phone interview, quote, "The message we want to send is for them to treat us with dignity and according to the law. We're immigrants with children, not criminals." Immigration attorney Eric Lee was at this detention center trying to visit his clients when this demonstration erupted. We've reached out to DHS for comment about this protest and allegations that it was sparked because of the treatment of Liam, but they have not yet returned our request for comment. Here are 2 videos taken by Lee outside the facility where you can hear the protests taking place inside.
They're shouting, "Let us out, let us out." There's people in blue shirts. Again, there's drones flying up ahead. I'm outside. I'm outside. It doesn't say out here.
Joining us now is immigration attorney Eric Lee, who you just saw in his video. Eric, can you walk us through what happened yesterday and what you witnessed and heard at this facility?
Sure. I was visiting a family that I represent that includes 2 5-year-olds, a 9-year-old, a 16-year-old, and an 18-year-old who have been detained at Dilley for 8 months. That is a record. You're supposed to let kids out after 20 days. They've been there for 8 months. The conditions they have described are abysmal. They are shocking. And when I was sitting in the waiting room waiting to visit with them, suddenly guards said, "Get out, get out." Their faces looked ashen. I didn't know what was happening. I walked out, and then I heard the children shouting from the parking lot. It sounded like hundreds of them. And again, those are children's voices. So to every American who's watching these demonstrations, watching what this administration is doing, the effective attempt to establish a dictatorship in this country, if the kids who are in detention are risking their lives, then what are you doing to stand up and fight for democracy in this country today?
Eric, do you have a sense of how many of these types of facilities may be in the country? And do we have any sense at all from organizations that may be tracking this, the number of children currently in ICE custody that are being held? I mean, you talked about, kids there being held for 8 months. That's got to be shocking to everyone who hears that. But do we have any visibility whatsoever into who's actually being held and how many of these facilities are in existence around the country?
Well, this is the facility that the Obama administration established to detain children, specifically for that purpose. The Trump administration, of course, filled it up in his first term. The Biden administration kept it open for 3 years. There are, as I have heard, at least 1,900 people detained at Dilley. I don't know how many children there are in other facilities. I can't speak to that. But I think that there is something quite chilling about the fact that over the last 25 years, there has been a bipartisan effort to establish a network of what are effectively internment camps, sometimes in residential neighborhoods, in suburbs of almost every American city in this country.
Eric, have you been able to get in touch with either the clients that you were there to visit or any other clients that you may have in this facility about what happened and whether there has been any retribution or punishment for those who participated in this protest?
I'm still waiting to hear as to whether there has been retribution for this. We obviously hope that there hasn't, and we are prepared to litigate that First Amendment issue if the Trump administration decides to go that route. What my clients, and their name is El Gamal, there's 5 of them, 5 kids. They've been in there for 8 months. An immigration judge just denied them bond in part because, quote, they lack property and assets. You're not supposed to be detained in this country for months and months and months as a 5-year-old because you lack property and assets. The family, by the way, yesterday was separated. That was before this protest took place, but they took the 18-year-old Habiba Soliman, an aspiring doctor, and brought her to a part of the facility where she no longer has access to her family. That was in retribution for her speaking out publicly last week to the media. But we will certainly hope to keep people updated as to whether there's any retribution against these children who stood up courageously to oppose the abysmal treatment that they're receiving in Dilley.
Eric, what is day-to-day life like inside these facilities for children?
Well, there was a lawsuit filed. There is the Flores settlement, which is supposed to monitor the conditions in there. Unfortunately, the Flores settlement has not really ameliorated the conditions in this place. Raíces, an organization in Texas, filed declarations earlier this year noting that the water is putrid. Even though baby formula has to be mixed with this water, sometimes kids can't even drink it. The food often has bugs, it has dirt, it has particles. Medical care is routinely denied. My client, one of my clients had appendicitis, a child in this same El Gamal family. The officials at this facility, when he came to them writhing in pain, screaming and crying, they told him, take a Tylenol and come back in 3 days. It wasn't until he passed out and started vomiting in the hallway that somebody finally came and took him to an urgent care, where they made him sit for 6 hours, but without a doctor, without an appendectomy, before they finally, in the middle of the night, someone decided, well, maybe we should take this kid to San Antonio for his surgery. That's the type of treatment that these children are experiencing in this place.
Can I ask you, as we see the administration's message, their narrative of what has transpired in Minneapolis just in the last 24 hours, and you think about what they're willing to say about someone that we can actually see on camera, we can see for ourselves what happened, and it differs greatly from the administration's story. What does that make you worry or imagine maybe happening at times behind closed doors in these detention centers?
Well, I don't have to imagine it. Other clients of mine are detained in places like the East Montana facility in Texas. They are being beaten by guards. They wrap flannel around their fists. They take them into the shower where there's no cameras, and they beat them up so that it doesn't leave bruises. That is what is being experienced in some of these facilities. It's very difficult that was an adult, that particular story. But these children are routinely subject to verbal abuse, to racial abuse, to guards telling them if they try and complain. Somebody told me today, don't waste my oxygen. That's a line that the ICE officers say if you try to ask for a little bit more food, maybe a little bit more privacy, religious accommodations. So the Trump administration, they're professional liars. Nobody should expect anything different. They're now assassinating American citizens in the streets of American cities. And I think that what this demonstration yesterday at Dilley shows, again, is that if the children who are facing these conditions are so desperate, but yet so courageous that they're willing to come out and risk their lives, that person in the AP story, she gave her full name. They could send her child 1,000 miles away, and she still stood up. So I hope that everybody who's listening to this takes their example from these kids and these mothers and fathers and stands up and fights against what's happening before it's too late.
Eric Lee, thank you so much, and thank you for your work on behalf of children. We appreciate you.
Thank you.